What is up, guys? It's Dan the Man, and today I'm back with another tournament held here at Chess Zone. I'm bringing you the 2026 July action, and for those of you that don't know, it's a monthly series that I do where I play in the action with like 4 60+5 games, and I'm just going to go ahead and recap them. So, going into round one, I'm paired against Scott Prichard, rated 1750. And I don't really know this individual at all. I haven't really seen his name too many times, so I didn't really have any sort of background on the person. And he just a new opponent, new territory, and we're gonna go ahead and see how I navigate. And I got extremely blessed that I won this game. I absolutely shouldn't have, and the chess that you're gonna see is not gonna be that great of quality. And just brace yourself for that, and know that even when you're dead lost, don't give up. Don't lose hope, because sometimes your opponent can have a blind spot, as you're going to see in the end. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into the game here. So, Scott has the white pieces and begins the game with d4. I go with d5. He goes with the Queen's Gambit, and I'm a fan of accepting. I have a pretty good either win or draw rate with this Queen's Gambit accepted, so I've been maintaining to playing it since I have generally good results with it. So I take, he goes knight f3, knight f6, e3, e6, bishop takes c4 to recover the pawn, c5 just challenge the center. I know this theory really well. Castles, knight c6, and blitz. I've had identical positions to this one. So again, I'm very familiar with the theory. So he plays rook e1 here. A lot of my opponents online go queen e2 and gambit the pawn on d4, but then pin it with rook d1. That's what some people do. Some people go knight c3 here. So it's very flexible. So rook e1 was played instead. I think I've seen this a handful of times as well. But as I mentioned, I've seen knight c3 and queen e2 more often. So after rook e1, I just take the pawn, because my idea in these setups is to try to isolate white's d-pawn. So here he takes, and in these positions, white really wants to go d5 to put pressure on the pawn on e6, which is pinned. So a very thematic move is bishop e7, just to block the e-file, and next move, you're going to castle, and it's going to be relatively simple gameplay. So far, it doesn't look like anything's going too crazy. You might be wondering how I'm going to play so poorly in the next several moves. Well, just stick around, and I'll show you how. It came up seemingly out of nowhere. Like, I make logical-looking moves, and somehow I get a totally absurd position, and not in my favor at all. But so far it's normal, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep going. So here we're both blitzing these out. Knight c3 played by Scott, and here at castle. We each haven't spent more than a minute on time, so we know this theory really well. And here he plays a3. I didn't know this was still book. I knew castles was book, but I didn't know a3 was book. I thought maybe we had left the theory at this point, but I guess not. a3, a6. We're both trying to prepare our respective b4, b5 pushes. So he plays bishop a2, a bit of a preventative move. He didn't want to get hit with tempo. So he plays bishop a2. Ideas of going bishop b1 and maybe queen d3 to set up a battery. Some ideas like that. So I play b5. Just even though the bishop's not attacked, it's still a good move in general. So here he plays the move d5. Again, that's a very good move for white in these positions, because you're just lunging the pawn forward, you're trying to trade off your weakness, and you're also attacking e6 and my knight on c6. So it's still a good move for white, even if I have castled already. So after d5, I take, and here's what I need to remember for next time. After the move knight takes d5, I'm not supposed to take the knight back. This is the beginning of my downfall. Instead, what I'm supposed to do is play the awkward move rook a7. And this is the only move to have equality for black. Rook a7. If I ever get this position again, I'll remember to go rook a7. The idea is to just bring the rook up, add some defense to the bishop, and maybe try to pin the knight with rook d7. It's a very weird move. Like, you normally don't bring your rooks up like that, but I guess it's a move to remember. So after rook a7, even though it looks like white can gain some natural development, you just go rook d7 here. You pin the knight. This is the only move, again, to not be losing. The idea is to pin the knight, and then Stockfish says take the bishop, knight takes e7, and now the queen's hit for Scott. And next move, you're just gonna go knight g6 or something, and gameplay will proceed. So yeah, rook a7 is a must here. Not taking on d5. This is the beginning of my positional collapse. So after knight takes d5, he already has a plus 1.2 advantage. Because after queen takes d5, he's exerting some pressure on my f7 pawn. My knight's hanging, which is defending my bishop. He's also threatening a trade. I actually can't trade because if I trade, once the bishop takes, I'm going to pretty much lose a piece here because the knight's hit, which is pinned to my rook. And if I try to defend the knight, all he's going to do is just remove the defender and then take the bishop on e7. So I pretty much have one move here, which is bishop to b7. Just keeping everything defended, keeping the queen trade open. Like next, if it were my turn again, I would take the queen here, but I'm just keeping my options open here. So bishop b7. Here Scott plays the best move, which is queen h5. And I already am starting to notice that he's going to bring his pieces out really quickly. And my king is kind of a bit lonely. They're no, like, my knight's not an f6 where it's defending. So next move, white can just pile up all the pieces on g5. Maybe bring the bishop here, and then centralize the rooks once the bishop moves. He has very rapid development incoming. And it's pretty hard to make a move here for black that doesn't immediately fall victim to that. So apparently Stockfish is saying best move is g6, which looked a bit unnecessary because, you know, you're weakening your king like that. You know, you don't really want to do that when you don't have to. And if queen h3, then, yeah, the engine says knight d4 to equalize. And, yeah, it's just a bit weird how black's okay here. Like, you have to find these sort of unnatural looking moves. And yeah, the best move for white's knight e5 to decline the it was best originally. I don't know why it's saying miss. But now you have to play the move bishop d5 here. Like, if you don't find these like 2 or 3 moves, you're just going to be totally crushed positionally. So yeah, it's just very awkward here. So I played the logical move bishop f6. And the problem with that is that he plays bishop g5. Again, he's preparing to bring the rook to the d file. I can't afford to take that bishop because the knight will take. He'll have 3 attackers on f7 because that bishop on a2 is hiding in a siding, but it is still attacking f7. So if I take the bishop, knight takes, he'll be threatening f7 3 times and checkmate. So I can't allow that. The engine here suggests knight a5 with the idea to bring the queen to b6 to defend the bishop laterally. But I didn't find that. I mean, even if I did, it's still way better for white, so it's not like it would have changed much. So here I play h6, and this is just a horrible move. I didn't really have too much choice, if we're being honest here. So h6 is bad, and Scott's already completely winning. Like, it's a miracle I didn't lose this game, right? It's like Scott's completely winning, like out of move 16. Like, it's amazing. And the reason is that he plays the very sharp move rook ad1, and as I said, like, my queen's hit. I can't take my eyes off the bishop because that would be totally terrible. He would double my pawns and take on h6. I can't really do anything here. In fact, like, Stockfish is suggesting to take the bishop and lose your queen and fight back with rook and bishop versus queen, which isn't ideal. So I'm already, like, flabbergasted that I got myself into this mess, and I'm like trying to find a way out. So I eventually find this crafty move, knight d4, which I wish was awarded a brilliancy, but it's awarded a best, which I guess is the same thing. With the idea of knight d4 is that I'm blocking the attack on the queen, And I'm also trying to deflect some of white's pieces. So, but even if we were to go into those lines, sorry about that. Even if we were to go into those lines, I'm still way worse positionally. Like, so let's go into a sample line. So my idea with knight d4 is that if he played bishop takes f6, I would take on f3 with the bishop. That's the best reply. And here it gets a bit murky. Like, white has to play queen takes f7 check here. Rook takes f7, bishop takes d8, bishop takes rook. And then you have to play rook e8 check here for white because the rook's pinned by the bishop. King h7, and bishop takes f7. And once all the dust settles, white's up a pawn and has a much better position because my king's a little bit weak. But you have to see all that down the road. That's kind of hard to do mentally. So that would have been the best reply with bishop takes f6. Yeah, I don't know if queen takes f7 is pretty hard to see, if I'm being honest. Here, the best move for Scott was knight e5. Just ignoring everything, not even taking anything, which is kind of insane. And the idea of knight e5 is that he's just trying to attack f7 relentlessly. So if I take the bishop here, looks like he's losing a piece. He goes knight takes f7, and yeah, I'm just totally cooked here. Like, I have to give up my queen according to Stockfish. And even if I try this, rook takes f7, queen takes f7, king h8, he goes rook takes d4. Like, tactics are explosive in this position. And if queen takes, rook e8 takes, queen takes, and I'm going to get checkmated soon. So, yeah. So, yeah, he played knight takes d4, which it wasn't the best move, but again, no matter what he does, his position is just so crushing that he can pretty much do anything sensical. So he plays knight takes d4, and my reply with that was that I'd play this and think that I'm equal in material. But then he plays knight e6, and this is a problem because he's hitting my queen with discovered attack, and also he's hitting the rook on f8. And I kind of knew this would happen because look at my position. So I played queen f6, and I was programmed mentally that I'd probably lose this game, and suffer a big loss on rating really early on. But as I said, you shouldn't give up so easily. So he plays knight takes f8, rook takes f8, and he's up in exchange, but at least his attack is kind of gone, right? So here I had like 8 minutes fewer on time because I had to think about that knight d4 resource. So he plays rook d7, just attacking the f7 pawn again, attacking the bishop. I go with g6 to kick the queen out. He goes with queen e2. And here, that was a bit of an inaccuracy. Here I play the move queen c6. And when I'm doing a queen c6 is that I'm threatening this checkmate over here. And also white's rook's hanging. And this is kind of surprising. Scott immediately sacked the bishop for the bishop on b7. He absolutely had no need to do that. What I thought he'd do, and frankly I don't understand why he didn't do that, was like just go rook d5. You keep the exchange, you block the attack, and life goes on. White's still crushing here, +2. So I don't really know why Scott didn't play that. That is really hard to see. Maybe he forgot the bishop was on a2. I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know. Rook d5 was like, I don't know why he didn't do it. But to my relief, he sacked the rook for the bishop on b7. He thought he'd blundered. And now it's back to equality. It's from like a +5 position, we managed to get to zeros, which is good. So queen takes b7 on the board. He tries h4, which was he played it really quickly. I'm like, wow. You have to really, confirm that that's really what you want to do, giving a pawn up like that. So I don't take right away because I thought he was setting some sort of trap. And I was scared of taking here because if I went here, I was scared about queen g4, which would hit the bishop on h4, but more importantly, hit this pawn on g6, which is pinned thanks to the bishop on a2. So I thought this was some sort of fork here. But Stockfish says bishop g5 just to block that. And I thought, like, f4, like, isn't white gonna, remove the bishop by force here? And even if the bishop does retreat, it's not the end of the world if white takes on g6, because you can always go bishop g7. But I didn't really want to allow this. But here's what I missed, that f4. I can go queen b6 check and then defend the pawn like that with my queen. So there's that option. And if king h1, I have to find really clever moves here. I can't move my bishop to d8 here because he has rook e6. And this is just a ridiculous move. Like, what is happening? And wow, like here Stockfish is saying queen f2, allowing rook takes g6. And wow, I mean, there's no way a human would have played rook e6 here, right? So yeah, I can't move the bishop back. And after king h1, I have to either find the move queen f2 to hit the rook on e1. I probably could have found that and hit the pawn on f4. Or I could have played queen d4 to pin the pawn of the queen. So even crazy here is you can play king g7. Like, Stockfish is so creative, right? You can play king g7, and if f takes g5, rook h8, and black is totally winning because the king on h1 is stranded. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. Stockfish is insane, right? So I didn't see all that, obviously. And I played bishop f6 because I didn't think he was bluffing. I thought he actually had a trick with bishop h4. So here he plays h5, and again the pawn here is pinned, so I have to unpin. I'll go king g7, and he takes. I take back, and here he goes with queen g4. And for a second, again, he played this very fast. I noticed that he dropped this pawn on b2, like, but then again I'm like, wait, is he setting up some sort of trap? So I kind of pause here. And Stockfish actually says it's fine to take, and it's not dangerous, but I didn't take because I was scared of this. I was scared of rook d1 trying to play a check on d7, so I was not wanting to face that. But Stockfish says you can allow the check and then hide in the corner, and even though it looks like white has a lot of like weaknesses around your king, like white has a lot of entry points, Stockfish says you're totally fine. Like, you have this covered by the bishop. And, I mean, I'd still prefer white a ton of times over black here, but, yeah. I was seeing ghosts. So, I didn't have to worry about, about rook d7 check. So, but I didn't want to be greedy, so better to be safe than sorry. So, I just go ahead and play rook d8, just preventing that altogether. Here he plays bishop to b1 to attack the pawn on g6. I pretty much have one move, which is queen f7. He plays b4 to save the pawn now. And here I go with rook d2, just adding some more pressure to the pawn on f2. Maybe trying to go bishop d4 and add a third attacker. So here, Scott plays the move rook d1. He's trying to liquidate into a drawn endgame. And I don't really want to, I mean, I was set to lose, but now that I'm back in the game, I wasn't wanting to draw either. I was trying to maybe press for a win, so I wanted to keep the rooks on the board here. So here, again, Stockfish is suggesting to take the rook and just liquidate. But here I play h5, and he only has one move to keep defending the rook, which is here. And again, Stockfish is saying this game is bound to go into a draw. Just trade all the material off. But here I play the move rook b2. I'm trying to keep the pieces on the board for complexity. So I go with rook b2. I had 21 minutes here, and he had 36. So I'm also kind of risking it by being down on time, trying to prove that I can outplay him. So here I go with rook b2, which doesn't seem to be working. He goes with bishop e4. I go with rook b3. It's still zeros here. He offers a rook trade. Again, Stockfish is saying to just trade all the material off and make our lives easier. But I go ahead and play rook b1 check because the bishop's now blocked. He goes king h2. I try to start some sort of attack. I go bishop e5 check. He blocks with g3. And here I go with queen e7 with the idea to go queen h4 because the pawn on g3 is pinned and I would be winning. That's my threat. But he sees that. He plays king g2, gets out of the line of fire of the bishop, and makes that idea impossible. So he goes king g2. I go with rook e1, just attacking the bishop, maybe threatening some discoveries down the road. He goes with bishop c6, threatening to pin my queen with rook d7, so I just go ahead and block that off with bishop d6. And here he goes queen d5 to attack the bishop again, and I go ahead and go rook e6, just keeping everything nice and solid. And here I had about 15 minutes, and I was starting to get a little bit stressed on time. But again, I wasn't ready to draw because I was trying to win. So here he plays bishop b7, attacking the pawn on a6. And here I play a horrible move. Stockfish says you can do a lot of things. You can play. I should have played rook e5 here, just to maybe force the trade. Like if queen takes bishop, queen takes b7, which I was looking at. But again, I was insistent on not trading pieces down too much because I wanted to maybe try to win. So here I just play a horrible move. I play bishop e5, which at first doesn't look that bad. My idea was to just defend the pawn with the rook. But the problem with bishop e5 is that thankfully he missed it. This is why this game was kind of bad in quality. Scott could have been totally winning again if he had found the move rook e3. And here I'm just in a really tough pin. Like, next move, white's going to go f4, and he's just going to win boatloads of material here. Like, I just pinned myself for no reason. And I thought, okay, maybe I'm fine with king f6, right? Maybe we just hold the glue with the king. And here, f4 can still be played. And if I try bishop b2, thinking I'm fine, I'm not, because queen g5 check, king f7, and then he goes bishop d5. So even though I can try to guard with the king, he still is going to end up crushing because of this move. And I'm just going to be totally busted. So bishop e5, an egregious move on my part. Very bad, very bad. But he missed it, thankfully. He plays queen d7, and now the game is back to drawn. And here, I just go ahead and trade. I'm like, we can normally have the heavy pieces on for so long. Let's just trade it off. I didn't really have a choice because my queen was pinned, but you get the idea. Rook takes d7 check, king f6, f4, bishop b2, bishop d5. And here he's actually being very sneaky here. He's eyeing rook f7 checkmate. So if I go like rook e8 or something, or rook b6, he goes rook f7 mate. So I pretty much only have one move here, which is rook e7. But then I got frustrated that he had won my pawn. So king g7, rook takes a6. So I'm like, damn. Not only am I down on time, but he's also up a pawn in this endgame. Like, this is not how I wanted to start the tournament off. So he's up a pawn, but it's opposite colored bishops, so it's still fine. And now my mission was to draw. I had given up my persistence on winning because it was becoming more and more unrealistic. So here I go with rook e3, trying to recover the pawn back. But Stockfish is saying a4 is better for white, so again, I'm making some mistakes. He plays rook a7 check. King f6 would hang checkmate. And I was first thinking about going here, but I didn't want to blunder my king somehow. I was scared of like bishop g8, threatening a checkmate on h7. And Stockfish is saying like you're hallucinating like usual. You go g5, and if white tries f5 to block your king out, you go g4, and there's no mate. Like, you're totally fine here. So, yeah, I was just seeing ghosts again. So, plus I was lower on time, so maybe that's why. So here I play king f8, which is a bit of an inaccuracy. It's still drawn, but white has more of an edge now. So here he plays rook f7 check, king e8. And here he plays the move rook g7, which at first it looked like a normal move. Like he's going after the g-pawn. I can't go here to defend. Should I take on a3 first, and then we'll just trade? So I actually didn't spot the rook blunder immediately. But then, and he actually kept a poker face. He didn't flinch as he played this move. So he might have not seen it, or he was just trying to not show any emotion and think I'd miss it. So I don't really know what he was doing emotionally, but I eventually pick up on the fact that just drops a rook. And when I took the rook, I was astonished, like, that all this happened. Like, from surviving a +5 position to him hanging a rook, like, the chess gods were preying on keeping me alive this game. I don't really have much to say. And as soon as I took the rook, he like slammed back in his chair, put his hands on his face, and he was like really frustrated. So I kind of felt bad for the guy. But we win the game in a very, very poor way. Not really proud of this win. This was kind of bad chess on my part. And I think Stockfish is being too nice with the accuracy because it gave me like an 87.9. I did not play it in 87.9. I probably played like at a 77.9, but definitely not this good. So Stockfish is being too nice. Let me guys know. Let me know in the comments if you think that Stockfish is being too nice here. But at least we win the game. Really, really rocky start to the tournament. So if you guys like this video, let me know in the comments, and I'll show you the next videos soon. And have a great rest of your day or night. Bye.